A really helpful tool that I've worked with a lot of people, myself included, to support us in embracing more complexity, supporting our development, to look at the world and be able to see more nuance and shades of gray, is called Polarity Management. And this is a helpful tool for shifting from those earlier stages when we tend to think in more black and white terms, think more simplistically, think in terms of either this or that. It helps us broaden into embracing both ands, embracing more of the gray, more of the nuance in situations, and the interdependencies that can be going on. So it's very helpful for more complex situations. And this tool offers us a bit of a structure to support us in our thinking, and it can be useful for ourselves and also as something to bring into our organizations and when we're working with our colleagues in meetings and so forth. So what is a polarity? A polarity is essentially two parts of a larger whole, or you might say an interdependent pair of opposites that are both necessary, required for a sustainable self and system over time. As an example, things like firm and yielding, or structured and organic, or in an organizational context, centralization and decentralization, efficiency and effectiveness, self and other. All of these are examples, and there are many, many more, of polarities where both aspects actually work together to help create a larger whole. If you were to just lean really hard into one side, into one aspect, then you'd be missing out on all that other side has to give you. So it might be helpful if we just take an example and work through it using what's called a polarity map. And this comes from the work of Barry Johnson. So a polarity map is essentially, you can draw an x-axis and put each of your poles on a different side of the x-axis. And in the upper quadrants of each of those, you're going to describe the upsides of each of those aspects, and in the lower quadrants, you describe the downsides. And simply by taking the time to fill in this map, it can help you take a broader view, a balcony perspective, if you will, of your situation. Instead of getting overly focused on, say, the upsides of change, it can help you recognize that there are also upsides to stability. And if you want to navigate, for example, your organization through a change initiative, it's going to be really important that you don't get too overexcited about the upsides of the change, because you might have a lot of frightened people who are thinking about the upsides of the status quo, right? The upsides of the stability of maintaining what they've already got, right? So by taking the time to fill in this map and also look at the downsides of each of those, and make sure that you recognize the other half of the polarity, you're going to get a broader picture. You're going to be able to communicate a fuller, broader view. You're going to be taking different perspectives and be able to show your audience, articulate to your audience that you also see their perspective. You've thought about the side of the pole that maybe they're preferencing, over the side of the pole that you're preferencing. And you'll be able to communicate differently. You'll be able to have a discussion that better encompasses the full picture. And you'll have a better chance of getting the upsides, being able to maximize the upsides of both and being able to minimize the downsides of both. Let's look at another common polarity example that I see organizations tripping over these days in particular. There's a lot of hype around being agile, and it's important that we're aware, if we want to actually be successful in bringing some more agility into our organizations, that we recognize, zoom out, get up on the balcony and recognize that there is another part of this polarity that's important, and that is structure. Both structure and agility enable each other. Okay, when we lean too hard into agility, we can get some perverse effects. All right, so let's map this out for a moment to get a fuller picture and see how both of these poles are needed in order to be successful in our organizations. Let's start with agility or flexibility. We know the upsides here, what we're looking for, right? We want people to innovate, we want people to experiment, we want people to move quickly and be able to try different things and be able to stay ahead of the curve in terms of the competition in our market and, you know, developing new products and services and things like this, right? All great stuff, that's lovely. But this polarity map also encourages us to recognize what are some of the downsides of agility, because those are there too, whether we like it or not. So some of the downsides of over-focusing on agility can actually be something like chaos that leads to a stuckness, right? That people just don't know what to do, right? There's no alignment. Everybody's reinventing the wheel. It's really slowing us down. There's no efficiency. So that's why it's important that we also recognize this side of the pole over here, structure. Now, oftentimes when we're trying to be more agile, we think of just the downsides of structure. We're like, oh, it's too cumbersome. You know, it's slowing us down. There's too much bureaucracy. It's, you know, there are too many rules for people to follow. It's not letting us move as quickly as we need to, right? So those are some of the downsides if we have too much structure, too much bureaucracy in place. However, we also have to recognize structure can bring some benefits, right? It can bring efficiency. It can bring clarity. It can bring alignment. Right? So these kinds of upsides are actually very important for supporting, giving us a platform to be able to push off of and be more agile. So making sure that you have some of the benefits of structure will help support you in getting the benefits of agility. And what we're looking for once you've mapped this out, and can see a more complete picture of the upsides and downsides of both of these aspects, you can then attempt to manage your way, rather than solving for a problem, you can manage both sides of this polarity, trying to get the upsides of both while minimizing the downsides. And one of the things that you want to be aware of is not only, this full picture and the importance of both sides of the poles, but pay attention to the signs of, are we dropping down into the downsides of either of these poles? And when you notice those, and when you pay attention and you can respond quickly, that will give you the chance to lean a little bit more into the pole that seems to be missing. So for example, if you notice yourself getting into some of the downsides of agility, if people seem a little bit lost, nobody's quite sure where to turn, then maybe let's bring in a little bit more structure. What can we do to align people, provide a little bit more clarity? And if you notice yourself dropping into the downsides of structure and it's like, oh goodness, people are really complaining a lot about all the steps in the process that they need to go through, they're really feeling constrained. Okay, what can we do to unleash people? What is it that we can do to give people a little bit more flexibility, right? Lean a little bit more into the upsides of agility. And it's that dance, it's that flow between the two and recognizing quickly and responding to those shifts in the system that will help you be more successful in embedding the benefits that you're looking for from becoming more agile in your organization.